Sylva, North Carolina, and we moved here 3 years ago. Most recently from Birmingham, Alabama, where we spent 5 years. And prior to that, we were in Madison, Wisconsin. When we moved here, we intentionally downsized and went from a house with a few thousand square feet and a basement and an attic and an outbuilding and rooms we never used to a small 700 square foot house with 3 dogs and a 3rd grade daughter. My husband and I are squeezed, but we love everything about it. It forced us to give away most of what we owned and pare down to the things we loved, and we moved here almost empty-handed. The future me doesn't imagine waking up one day and desiring to put on a giant guest wing or master suite or addition to the house. We like the tiny footprint. One challenge we've really felt, though, over the last 3 years in particular has been the way in which things continually creep into your household. We're very intentional about what we consume, and we buy very little and recycle and reuse and donate constantly, but it seems every day you come home and there's a package on the door from Amazon or a birthday gift, or it's Christmas and suddenly we're bursting at the seams and we can't shove things into closets or cupboards or cabinets. And Saturday mornings we spend going to the transfer station or out to recycle or to the dump, and you realize how much you consume when you look at it constantly. And as much as we think we don't consume or that our space might force that limitation, I realize we have to be very intentional about not just what we purchase, but what we allow to come into our homes and what we are given and what we accept. So one of my goals for the future is really making sure that we keep only what we use, and we don't give things simply because they were given to us well-intentioned or because they have some sentimental or financial value. I want less. The other most intriguing aspect of imagining my future is thinking about my garden. We bought this house. It had, as my 5-year-old girl at the time declared, not one blossom. It was just a simple, flat property with a ton of potential, and we filled it with flowers and vegetables and herbs and trees, and every inch of it is slowly becoming covered. My goal is to remove every ounce of turf that remains and really make this property entirely something that we can use to sustain us as a family. It's our space for recreation. It's where we find our happiness. It's also where we find our sustenance. I'd like to see my 6 fruit trees over time become an orchard on the hill. And I'd like our vegetable garden to eventually produce enough that we could continue to share with friends and neighbors on a greater scale. And part of that priority also relates to time, which is something I desperately want more of. And I think one way I can gain more time to let me be in the garden, or let me enjoy my small spaces and not spend my Saturdays at the recycling center or the transfer station, is to really consider time as a precious commodity. And to me, that means limiting some of the overload that is media in general. I work in marketing and I'm daily exposed to a digital onslaught. And recently I just converted to a flip phone, and it has been one of the best investments I've made in recent years. Selectively deciding when and where to communicate is critical, and limiting that daily onslaught of information I think is vital in order to find time and space to do the things that we love the most and to have communication and interaction that is meaningful and intentional. So in the future, I see continuing to find ways to disconnect and reconnect as much as possible so that we have space and energy left to do what we care most about.